Do all idols deserve a solo debut? We're now in a new era where groups are hitting their 6, 7, and 8-year anniversaries, and suddenly solos are popping up left and right, which leads us straight to the big question of this video. Should all K-pop idols do a solo debut? Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing good. Today, we're diving into this controversial topic that K-pop fans love to fight about. We're going to break down what makes someone solo ready, why companies hesitate, and why some fans act like solo debuts are the end of the world. And most importantly, we're going to talk about what success even looks like for a soloist, because it's not always charts and trophies. Before we get started, like always, but especially for this video, I want to preface this by saying that I mean no hate to the groups or idols mentioned in this video. I love a lot of these idols and respect all of them, and so should you. If I see any hate aimed at these idols in the comments, I'll deal with it accordingly, but with that out of the way, let's just jump into it. I'm sure we all know what a solo is, but just to be clear, I'm referring to the release of an official solo song or album outside of the group with the explicit intention of it being promoted individually while not affecting their standing in or the group as a whole. What does this mean? OSTs, brand and promotional singles, collaborations, in-album and post-disbandment solos don't count. To make this a bit easier to digest, I'm going to break this video into a few different sections, starting with Section 1. Why solos matter right now. Once upon a time, solos were rare. Like, really rare. The group was the brand, the identity, the entire marketing plan. Members only promoted alone if something dramatic happened. A scandal, a hiatus, or someone suddenly being sent overseas for schedules, and never fully explaining why. A solo debut wasn't part of the plan. It was either a wild experiment or a soft launch for a future actress career. But now, solos are strategic weapons. They keep a group's name circulating during long comeback droughts, they give fans something new to obsess over between eras, and maybe most importantly, they let idols show sides of themselves that just don't fit the group mold. Like, imagine trying to squeeze a soulful R&B track onto a bubblegum pop album. It's not impossible, just unlikely. But as a solo, it's freedom. They also build longevity. Not every idol stays in a group forever, and not every group lasts a decade. But a solo career, that's a safety net. It's a bridge to something more sustainable, whether that's acting, songwriting, variety, or continuing music independently. And for fans, it's heaven. We get more content, visuals, stages, songs to stream into oblivion. We stay fed. It's no longer just about the group, it's about learning who these idols are as individuals. And that's part of the fun. The old mindset of a solo, a cute little treat, has completely flipped. Now it's, why does she still not have a solo? What is the company doing? Solos used to be sprinkles on top of the cake. Now they're part of the main course. We've reached an era where the cycle is group comeback, solo comeback, subunit debut, OST release, brand campaign, rinse and repeat. It's a hamster wheel of activity, but it works. The industry has shifted from collective identity to individual branding. And honestly, it's exciting, but it also raises the stakes. A solo debut isn't just a bonus anymore, it's a milestone. It's the moment an idol steps out from the safety of choreography formations and matching outfits and says, "This is who I am." It's thrilling, it's terrifying, and it can make or break how the public sees them moving forward. Because once you've had your solo era, there's no going back to anonymity. Whether it hits big or flops, you've been seen, and now everyone's watching to see what you do next. Section 2. What makes someone solo ready? We need to be honest here. Not every idol is ready for a solo the day they debut. Sometimes not even 5 years after, and that's okay. Because being solo ready isn't a simple checklist of can sing, can dance, can rap. It's so much deeper than that. It's about knowing who you are when the spotlight is entirely yours, when there's no one else on stage to absorb the pressure or fill in the silence. It's understanding your sound, your style, your perspective, not the group's. It's also about confidence. There's a difference between performing with energy and performing from confidence. A soloist has to know how to command a stage, to keep the audience focused for 3 minutes straight and make the camera feel like it's only them and no one else exists. That's not easy. even for idols who've been performing for years. And then there's company support. Some artists have teams who will give them vision, budget, choreography, and marketing. Others have $5 and a dream. The difference shows. You can have all the potential in the world, but if the rollout isn't there, even a great song can fall flat. Timing plays a huge role too. A fandom has to be ready, there has to be a market for it, plus the group schedule has to make sense. Because of this, sometimes a solo debut is less about talent and more about whether all the stars align at the right time. And every group has its mix of archetypes. The chameleon who can adapt to any concept and make it look effortless. There's the showstopper who eats up the stage every time. We also have the quiet ace whose full skill set we only see glimpses of. Then there's the identity loading screen, the member who's still figuring out what kind of artist they want to be. And of course, the poor soul who the company seems to have temporarily misplaced their number. We'll call you later. Being solo ready isn't a checklist, like I said, it's a recipe. Talent, identity, support, and timing. And the timing alone can make or break it. Some idols get their solo moment when they're fully prepared and it shows. Others get thrown in before they've even found their footing in the group. Either way, readiness isn't about perfection, it's about growth. A good solo debut doesn't just showcase skill, it reveals potential. Section 3. Why some fans say no, or not yet. There are real concerns that make people hesitate when it comes to solo debuts, and honestly, I get it, because when a group dynamic is strong and balanced, any shift, especially one that spotlights a single member, can feel risky. Some fans worry that if one person's solo blows up too much, it might overshadow the group. Suddenly, every comeback becomes a scoreboard. Who sold more? Whose MV views are higher? Who charted longer? It turns fandom life into the Hunger Games, and instead of celebrating their success, everyone's fighting over imaginary trophies. Some people argue that solo should be earned, that an idol needs to prove they've built enough skill, recognition, and individuality within the group before stepping out alone. Because when you think about it, the solo project doesn't just reflect on the artist, it represents the label, the fandom, and the legacy of the entire group. If it's rushed, it can make everyone involved look unprepared. And in an industry as competitive and oversaturated as Kpop, the truth is not every solo will find an audience. Some idols might not have a clear musical identity yet, or their voices and styles might blend better in a group context. That's not a bad thing. Some performers are incredible team players, but not meant to stand alone. The magic of a group dynamic can always be replicated by a single person, and forcing it too soon can highlight weaknesses rather than strengths. Then there's favoritism, or at least the perception of it. When only one or two members get solo opportunities while the rest fade into the background, it creates tension and fans notice. And also when a company keeps saying we're working on it, but years go by with no update, the trust starts to crack. And let's talk about the rollouts. Because sometimes companies give a solo debut all the promo and fireworks of a national event, and sometimes it looks like a rushed school project. One set, one outfit, one random Tuesday night drop with no warning. You blink and it's over. No teasers, no variety show appearances, no choreo challenge. Just a cute behind the scenes clip when everyone's moved on. It's not fair to the artist or the fans. But sometimes it's not even about favoritism or bad planning. It's about readiness. Not every idol has found their own artistic voice yet, and that's totally fine. Some idols shine best when they're surrounded by the group's energy and structure, and it takes time to learn who they are outside of it. A solo debut done too early can actually stunt growth instead of encouraging it. And of course, the dreaded F word. Flop. The internet loves to treat numbers like proof of worth. It didn't sell 1 million copies? Guess they didn't deserve a solo. But that's such a shallow take. Because maybe the timing was bad, maybe the market was saturated that month, maybe the song didn't fit them, or maybe the company didn't promote it at all. A weak rollout or wrong concept can sink even the strongest performer. Sometimes, it's not that the idol failed the solo, it's that the solo failed the idol. And that's what makes this conversation so complicated, because every flop, every uneven rollout, every why did they even get one, adds fuel to the larger debate of who quote-unquote deserves a solo debut in the first place. It's not just about talent, it's about opportunity, timing, and respect. Section 4. Here's where I land on it. Yes, every idol deserves the opportunity to debut solo. Not because they topped brand reputation charts, not because they get the most lines or center time, but because they're artists first and foremost. And every artist deserves the chance to explore who they are creatively, to tell their own stories, and to step outside the image that the group or their company built for them, if they so want. Solos give idols something incredibly valuable: room to grow. On a personal level, it can boost confidence and self-awareness. On an artistic level, it lets them experiment with genres, visuals, and messages that wouldn't fit under the group's umbrella. And in the long run, it helps build sustainability, because group careers eventually slow down, but a solo identity can keep the artist's career alive long after the lights on the group stage fade. We also have to be honest, fans love it too. We get to see different shades of the same person we've supported for years. Maybe your favorite rapper turns out to have an angelic singing voice. Maybe the shy member is actually a total performance powerhouse when the spotlight is fully theirs. Solos can reshape how we see an idol entirely, and sometimes that shift changes everything. Take for example Dayoung from WJSN. Even though I've loved her even before the Chokomi days, she wasn't always front and center in the group. But her solo work and her growing presence have proven that sometimes the so-called underdogs just need the right platform to shine. That's what opportunity does. It reveals potential that might have gone unnoticed otherwise. Now, of course, opportunity is not a guarantee of success. Giving someone a solo debut doesn't mean it'll automatically break charts or trend globally. Unfortunately, like Sola of WJSN. It just means they got a fair shot. And if it doesn't work right away, that's okay. We move, we learn, we wait for the timing to align. Because artistry isn't about a single release, it's about evolution. At the end of the day, the door should never be locked to anyone. Everyone deserves at least one chance to show who they are on their own terms. Even if it's not perfect, even if it's not viral, it still matters. Because the goal of a solo debut isn't to prove that someone can sell millions, it's to prove that they have something to say. Section 4.5. Gray area. I have to acknowledge that my stance is admittedly a little idealistic and naive even. Because as nice as it sounds to say every idol deserves a solo, the reality is that not every company has the budget, time, or confidence to hand out mini albums and singles like candy. We're talking about an industry built on strategy and survival, and when it comes down to strategy, popularity and sellability will almost always trump raw talent. 9 times out of 10, the deciding factor isn't who's artistically ready, it's who's gonna make us money. Being solo ready in the eyes of a company is different than being solo ready in the eyes of fans. From a business standpoint, they're looking at numbers, brand rankings, album pre-orders, engagement metrics, global reach. From a fan's perspective, it's about passion and capability. The voice, the performance, the spark that says they're ready. The overlap between those two perspectives is rare. And because K-pop is still a business first, companies are going to do what's best for their pockets. They'll push the member most likely to return the investment, even if the timing isn't right. But that approach can backfire hard. Because putting your most popular idol out there when they're not personally ready might make a lot of money in the short term, but it can damage their reputation in the long run. Fans can be forgiving, but they can also be brutally honest when a solo feels half-baked. I would know. I've been that fan. And sometimes, it's not even the idol's fault. Again, sometimes the title track is dull. The kind of song that feels like it's been recycled for the past 4 years. Or the concept just felt cheap. Maybe the styling didn't even match their personality, or maybe the company didn't invest enough time into helping them develop an identity outside of the group. However, sometimes it's plain and simple. They're just not ready yet to carry an entire project on their own. That doesn't mean they'll never get there. It just means the rollout didn't serve them this time. And honestly, that's where a lot of solo discourse starts to spiral. People blaming idols for things that were actually management decisions. Because when a solo misses the mark, it's easy to say they shouldn't have debuted solo. But sometimes the real issue is that they weren't given the right tools, the right song, the right team, or the right vision. Section 5. Real-world examples. Now that we've talked about the theory, let's look at what this actually looks like in practice. In K-pop, a solo debut can mean so many different things depending on the artist, the company, and the timing. Sometimes it's a full album rollout with a concept film, global promo, a world tour teaser. And sometimes it's one digital single, a dance practice, and radio silence. What's fascinating is how much a solo debut reflects not just the artist, but also the company's priorities. You can tell immediately which labels understand how to give their idol space to grow, and which ones are just checking a box because everyone else is doing it. Solos expose everything: artistry, strategy, company culture, and fan expectations. And that's why I think case studies are so important. When you compare how different groups handle solos, you start to see patterns. You see what works, what doesn't, and why. Because solo success isn't just about who has the biggest fandom or the most charisma, it's about alignment, when the concept, the artist, and the company's vision all click at the same time. So let's dive into some real-world examples, the triumphs, the missteps, and everything in between, to see what solo success really looks like. Starting out with my girls, TWICE has shown us how 9 members can express 9 different identities while still feeling like a united group. Nayeon and Jihyo have given us solos that feel like the natural next evolution of who they are in TWICE. Nayeon with her polished pop charm, and Jihyo with her powerful emotional maturity. Add to that, with our newest soloist, Chaeyoung, has delivered the kind of authentic experimental artistry that makes his solo feel truly personal. However, Chui's solo, to me, didn't feel like her. In fact, that release actually inspired this entire video because of all the discourse around when she debuted. I'm also planning to start a new series where I revisit albums that didn't quite work for me, and talk about why and explain how I would fix them. TWICE is proof that equal opportunity combined with popularity doesn't guarantee equal solo outcomes. When Blackpink releases a solo, the world stops and the budget shows. Each member brings a clear sense of self, but some solos feel more fully realized than others. Rosé, in my opinion, has the strongest solo identity, emotional guitar pop that manages to still feel intimate and massive at the same time. She's the type of artist you could cry with over an iced coffee, and then she'll go headline Coachella. However, Lisa's debut album left a lot to be desired for me, but I'll dig more into their solo ventures in my new series because there's a lot more to say. I will give YG this. I feel they handled their debuts, for the most part, fairly equal. The same amount of songs, similar looking budget, and attention. Ignoring Jennie's solo. Red Velvet is where artistry thrives and fairness does not. Their dual concept allows members to pull off any genre imaginable. Joy with her refreshing, sometimes retro aesthetics, Wendy with her masterful voice, and Seulgi with her darker edge. But, again, SM debuted Wendy and Joy too close together and hardly promoted them. Irene and Seulgi always get a bigger push, and Yeri, where's her album? Again, I've said all of this in my Future of Red Velvet video, and also in my solo reactions, and I'll continue saying it until they get what they deserve. The issue isn't talent, it's corporate priorities. With ITZY, I'm conflicted. Yeji's solo was genuinely good. Great performance, strong vocals, clear concept, but the promotion was practically non-existent. I didn't even remember it came out this year. Add to that, it was also really short. Like the mini itself, the era feels like it came and went. Meanwhile, Hyunjin and Yuna have the kind of star power that could easily drive full solo eras. I'm still working on my massive ITZY video that will probably be released as episodes at some point. Artistically, they're ready. Their company just needs to act like it. There's many other groups I love with soloists like Mamamoo, Luna, G-Friend, Girls' Generation, Idol, WJSN, and the list goes on. However, between them, the level of success is massively different, at least in success and charts. So that leads me to section 6. What counts as success? When we talk about solo success, I think it's really important to zoom out. Success isn't just about album sales or whether the title track hit Billboard or Melon Top 10. And it's not always about numbers or trophies. Sometimes success looks like discovering your artistic voice for the first time, finding confidence in your sound, or reaching a new audience who finally gets you. It's about growth, personal, creative, and emotional. For some idols, a solo debut is their big breakout moment. Everything clicks instantly. The streams are wild and the fandom expands overnight. For others, it's more like planting a seed. Maybe the first release is small, understated, even overlooked, but it builds a foundation for the future. And both of these paths are valid. A quieter debut doesn't erase anyone's talent. Sometimes it's just the first chapter in a much bigger story. That said, and I know this part isn't fun to talk about, sales do matter when it comes to company priorities. It sucks, but money isn't infinite. Labels are still businesses at the end of the day, and commercial performance determines who gets the next budget, who gets another comeback, and who gets quietly shelved. So while I personally believe that growth in artistry should come first, the reality is that numbers will always be a part of the conversation. It's this constant balancing act: artistry versus profitability, individuality versus strategy. And that's what makes solo careers so fascinating to me. They're not just creative expressions, they're reflections of how the entire K-pop system values its artists. But there's always hope that your faith can claw out of the basement. I mean, fingers crossed. Section 7. My final verdict. So, do all idols deserve a solo debut? In my opinion, yes, absolutely. Every idol deserves the opportunity to shine as an individual, to express themselves in a way that isn't limited by a group's concept or color. They deserve the space to grow, to make creative choices that are fully theirs, and to be seen as artists, not just 1/9 or 1/4 of something bigger. Not every solo will be a cultural reset. Not every song will dominate charts, go viral, or pull in record-breaking numbers, and that's perfectly fine. A solo doesn't have to reinvent the wheel to be meaningful. Sometimes it's a quiet exploration, a soft statement that says, "This is who I am right now." Maybe it'll be a bold, explosive redefining of an idol's entire career. Both paths are possible. And if you don't like a solo, that's okay. The group's discography still exists. You can love one without tearing down the other, because solos don't ruin groups, they expand them. They add new dimensions to how we understand each member, how we connect with them, and how they connect with themselves. However, this also doesn't mean solos go without criticism. You can love an idol but hate their solo work. If an album or release is subpar, as a fan, you have the right to voice your opinion about it. Obviously, while remaining respectful, but wanting everyone to get a solo doesn't absolve anyone from putting out something mediocre and bad. A well-done solo doesn't take away from the group's legacy, it adds another layer to it. It's proof that idols are more than their assigned positions. They're multifaceted people with their own stories, sounds, and ambitions. And when companies handle solos thoughtfully, when they give idols the time, support, and trust they deserve, everyone wins. The artist grows, the fans get fed, and the group's legacy becomes even richer. But when a solo is rushed or half-assed, the idol's reputation is on the line. People can be ruthless when expressing their opinions about things they dislike. But I still feel the fear of flopping shouldn't stop anyone. That's why, at the end of the day, I'll always root for more idols to get their shot. Because K-pop thrives on individuality within collectivity, and solos are one of the most beautiful ways to celebrate that balance. But I want to hear from you. Who surprised you with a solo? Who do you think deserves the next spotlight? And how do you define solo success? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, respectfully. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. We are now officially on the road to 1K subs, and we are so close. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all the support, and if you enjoyed this chat, now's the time. Subscribe and stick around because we are just getting started. Remember that I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye!